Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to do a Leave It to Beaver review. I already reviewed season 3, and I'm going to go through the whole series, and then at the end rank a lot of different things. I'll probably rank the characters, rank the episodes, and rank the seasons. Just because it makes it easier, oh, those are easy videos I can do and not have to worry about, watching something new that day. So, I already did season 3, and in that one, I promised to tell you guys about Judy. And now, see, this is a creepy little tidbit that I want to discuss. So, Judy did disappear from the show after season 3, which is, it's unfortunate. I mean, I really liked that one episode where she seemed like she was actually being nice to him for a couple of seconds, and it made you see what could have been if they had kept her character and developed her throughout the course of more seasons. But apparently, Hollyweird, they wanted Judy to bind her chest so that she looked younger, because by the time that she got to season 3, she started to grow a bigger chest, and she did not want to do that because she thought it was weird, and so she left. So that's why she disappeared after season 3. Is all because Hollyweird wanted her to look like a kid, look younger and younger, and never look like she's getting older. And I just think that's really creepy. I mean, all the other characters, you can tell that they're growing older, and so why would they want to cover that up from a kid getting older, in terms of you could tell that Eddie looked older after season 1, his hair looked different. You could tell that Larry, he looked different, he had a different hairstyle, and he looked just completely different. And then other characters, they completely recast. So, just really weird. You can tell these are some strange people who are in Hollyweird, and this is just one of the many weird things that they did. So now we are going to talk about season 1, where Judy is still around. And I think that's unfortunate because I don't want to. I wish I could put her character higher. I'm thinking about at the end when I'm going to rank all the characters, and I just hope I don't forget about her by the end of the series, and then just go oh yeah, she's like a C. Because she is really a grade A character in these first 3 seasons. And when she is gone and we're in seasons 4 through 6, she is going to be severely missed. And there are 36 episodes. I have ranked all of the episodes from worst to best, and I graded them, and I typed a few notes about each and every single one. Because I think I watched it over the course of 40 days. So, last place, and I'm just going to go through each one. Last place is Cat Out of the Bag. This is the season finale. I give it a D-. I guess this is an attempt at a finale. The paper route comes into play. The Donaldsons come into play. It doesn't work, though, because it's different actors. It's a different actor playing Mr. Donaldson, so that's a complete fail. Eddie's dog from Beaver's Bad Day comes into play. But wow, this episode is a fucking failure. It's anticlimactic, it's not funny, it's silly, it's predictable, it's the usual shit. Beaver and Wally mess up needlessly, they cover it up, and then get in trouble. And as usual, their parents give them no credit whatsoever. The episode ends where Beaver... Why do I sound like that? The episode ends where Beaver and Wally aren't even on screen. And so in the last moment of season 1, Beaver and Wally aren't even there. And it's fucking stupid how they got the job done and saved the cat from being lost, and they won't accept payment. That's fucking retarded. And Eddie doesn't even get in trouble for what his dog did. And Beaver gets treated like he did something just as bad as Wally. This episode is a disaster. It's clumsy, and the one I always called the stupid cat episode as a kid. Of all things to end Leave It to Beaver season 1 on, it's a stupid Beaver has a pet episode. And it's not even a pet. He's just watching this cat for a neighbor, and he messes up, and they try to fix it. And this is the thing that I always find weird. You know, whenever the kids mess something up and they try to fix it and solve it, problem solve it, their parents always treat it like it's something just as bad as if they did something purposefully wrong. And it's weird. Like, you'd think that they would be proud that, like, their kids are trying to fix a problem on their own, or that they're taking the initiative to not just say, like, oh, okay, the cat's gone now, who cares? Like, no, the kids are actively try to get it back, and then they just have to enlist their dad's help, and it's like, oh, F them. And then the thing with, Wally, he is older than Beaver, and he abandoned his job once again. I mean, that's another thing, too. There's another episode this season where Wally does not want to do his job and paint trash cans. It seems like a trend for his character that he does not like to focus on what he needs to do at that moment. So I thought that it was stupid. Just it seems like with a lot of these season 1 episodes, they have to rush things to an end, because it's only 29 minutes or less. So they can't really fully resolve things properly in that 29 minutes, and they have to, like, sloppily finish things off at the end. In a lot of these episodes, I noticed a trend that at the end of the episode, you won't even see, like, Beaver or Wally, or sometimes, like, the parents, and you'll just see, like, 2 characters, and they'll have this tacked on ending where it's like, oh wow, I'm glad the issue got solved off screen like 10 minutes ago, instead of actually, showing whatever issue get resolved on screen. And you really see that in this episode where apparently Beaver, him and Wally refuse to take payment for taking care of the cat. And I think that's stupid. I think they did the job. If anything, it should have just been like, maybe Wally didn't get paid half of it, or both of them didn't get paid half of it. Something like that. But to just say, like, oh no, they shouldn't be paid anything at all, I think that was stupid. So next up, Beaver and Poncho. D. This episode's trash. The animal episodes are almost always mediocre, and that is true. This story is bleh. Nothing interesting at all. I think that the worst part about this episode is the ending. Beaver does not want to get rid of this dog because the dog is owned by someone else, and he found it, and he loves the dog so much, and so he hides it, and he sneaks it into school and everything, and at the end he actually tells the owner of the dog that he was trying to hide it from her and everything because his parents force him to. And the woman just acts like he's a horrible, evil person, like this little tiny kid who's like fucking 7 or 8 years old. And she's treating him like he's this horrible person. And it's just the worst sometimes, like the way they treat Beaver and the way that, they almost act like he can do no wrong. Like he can do wrong things, but then it's like they'll punish him for it and just... Did I say that right? Did that come out right? I don't think it... They always treat him like he did something wrong, even though they know that he's a kid, and they should know that, kids sometimes do something wrong, and, that's just... that's life. They're learning. As long as they learn a lesson, that's what's important. And in this case, Beaver didn't learn any lesson. He just learned that this woman who owns the dog is a bitch, and then his parents suck too. It's not a very good lesson, in my opinion. Next up is Beaver's Bad Day. I give it a D+. An episode that can hide behind having Larry and Eddie is an excuse for why it's good. And it's true. People say this episode's an A+ because Larry and Eddie are in it. Like, yeah, who cares? It's mediocre and cliche. You know what will happen. There's few laughs. Beaver's parents are dumb AF. Cringe religious talk at one point, which was stupid. Didn't need to be in there. And what happened was Beaver was told that he shouldn't do anything bad because there's somebody who's always watching, and he can see through the roof, and he can see through the closet, and he can see everything and everyone, and it's like, ugh. And the reason why I say that is because they're not telling him that for any, like, actual religious reason. They're telling him that to try to make him confess to doing something that he didn't do. Like this whole episode, they shame Beaver for not telling the truth when he tells the truth twice. And they never even apologize about punishing him for telling the truth the first time. So, like, that whole thing with, like, somebody is always watching, it's like, well, yeah, like, who else he's watching? He's watching the parents who punished their child for telling the truth. Like, that's pretty bad. I mean, you don't get punished for telling the truth. That's ridiculous. The only bright spot is Larry. He does the right thing and helps Beaver and admits that Eddie's dog did it and all this stuff. So Larry came to the rescue. Tinting Tonight is the next one. I give that one a D+. This episode starts with an asinine setup where Ward is mad his kids spend all day at the movies on Saturdays. One has to wonder why the fuck he's trying to tell them what to do when they're forced to be in school 5 days a week, all day long, and then they're forced to be in Sunday school on Sundays every week too. They have the right to do what they want on Saturday, their only free day of the week. The icing on the cake is when he breaks his promise to take them camping and lets them sleep outside on a rainy night. The whole episode is stupid and all built around just getting them to camp in their yard. It's not worth it. The Mayberry RFD camping disaster episode is much, much better. And I say that it's stupid because that whole complaint about them not being outside, it's like that's not even the issue. Like, it's not even an issue in the series. Like, they're outside plenty of times. It's all just to set up them tenting outside. You know, like this whole rant and rave about kids not being outside. It's just all to service that story. You know, it's not actually like a statement on them as characters. So that just makes it even more stupid and dumb. The next episode is The State versus Beaver. I give it a C. This is a cringe episode. The whole episode is built around a joke, which is kind of funny, I guess. Other than that, it's a vomit-inducing episode where Beaver is really scared getting in trouble and going into court. A very negative episode, gives me a stomachache thinking about it. You know, it's just not a fun episode to watch at all. Beaver and Henry, I give a C. This is a meh episode. I like how Beaver did something wrong without knowing it, and he fixes his mistake thanks to Gus the fireman. Other than that, this is a very typical Beaver has a pet episode, which is code for we don't know what to do, so we're just going to put random animal with Beaver, and that'll be the episode. That's one of the reasons why this season isn't as good as season 3. Is because there's so many episodes where it's just Beaver has a pet. Beaver has an animal. Like, boring. Next up is The Broken Window. I give it a C. What could have been a great episode is just okay at best. This one feeling like propaganda where there's an emphasis on the boys preferring physical punishment over their dad telling them he's disappointed. You know, it's a really weird fixation the show has on like the kids talking about like how much they would prefer to be physically hurt than to, you know, have to get yelled at or something. It's really funny. It's like you can tell that this is written by adults and not by actual children. The whole episode they act correctly, and these bad things just happen. You know, to pretend like they were being bad was dumb. I liked how at the end he fixed the window already and he thought he broke it. Yeah, so there's sort of like a misunderstanding where Ward, he closed the car door so harshly he thought he broke the window. So he fixed it, but it turned out that Beaver and Wally broke it on accident, I mind you. And I thought that was a nice little moment. But again, the whole weird propaganda over the physical abuse over verbal abuse thing is like really weird. Beaver's Crush, I give a C-. This episode is heavily disappointing because it isn't even about Beaver's crush. It's basically Beaver is a teacher's pet. The Beaver crush part is better done in New Neighbors. That's another episode. In fact, I think they should have just made a sequel to that instead of this. It's not a bad episode, though. I watch it again. I'm not going to say the last thing that I wrote about Miss Campfield. Miss Campfield can do something. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. Keep in mind, I just wrote these notes like right after I watched the episodes every day. So I when I wrote this, I was probably like in a mood. I was like, I gotta write something about Miss Campfield. This episode, okay. Next episode, cleaning up This episode's title is pretty interesting too. Cleaning up Beaver. C C C minus. This episode is a mixed bag. Ward turns his children against each other, which was terrible. In fact, I would say that was one of the worst things that the people on this show did the whole season, maybe even the whole series. And the lesson Beaver learns more so has to do with Wally not being so mean to Beaver than Beaver being messy, pointless. Also, cringy, old-fashioned agenda where no shoes or socks is the worst thing ever. Ha ha ha, boomer. And, that was a big thing back then was, you'd have these people who get really mad if you didn't wear socks and shoes. And, I never wore socks and shoes in the house growing up. I thought I'd rather not. I would just like to not do that. So it's hilarious how they acted like that was a hate crime or something in this episode. It was really weird. Another weird thing. Next up is Lonesome Beaver. We'll just have to take a laugh. In fact, that would be another funny video would be, what are the top 10, cringiest Leave It to Beaver titles? The titles that just make you go, did they say this title out loud before they suggested that it should be, the actual title? Lonesome Beaver. This is a C minus. It was a great idea, but a bad execution. There's no such thing as Cub Scouts, apparently. Also, there could have been tons of more scenes of Beaver interacting with characters in town, like Judy, for instance. So what happens is Wally joins the Boy Scouts, and Beaver has to spend all this time alone. And it seemed like a really, good idea for an episode, but Beaver doesn't even, interact with anybody in town, except for these, random people. And it's just so stupid, and I hated it. Wally's job, I give a C. This is a queer episode. The whole time they fight over who gets to paint trash cans. Do people even paint trash cans anymore? No, they don't. Then there's a big twist where June paints the trash cans because the boys want to go see a fire. Pretty meh, not great, not terrible. Childcare, I give a C+. Not a very good story. There are some very funny jokes, though, with getting the girl out of the bathroom. I just didn't think this one was very well planned out. It almost seemed like it was thrown together at the last minute. Next up is Next Door Indians. I give that one a C+. And all I wrote was meh. It was okay. I mean, I would watch it again. Next up is Beaver Short Pants. I give that one a I give that one a C+. Aunt Martha, though. This is Aunt Martha's first episode. Aunt Martha is garbage. She is the worst. There are very few laughs. The best part is when Ward sneaks Beaver into the garage and changes him back into his normal clothes. Also, there is a cringe-worthy agenda about wearing shorts. The type of shorts is more embarrassing than the idea of wearing them in general, but the Cleavers laugh at any type of shorts. If a guy wears any shorts, apparently, that's really hilarious. And see, this is very old-fashioned, because nowadays guys wear shorts all the time. I wear shorts pretty much every day. I'm pretty much known for wearing shorts, like even in the winter times. And to think, like, back then you weren't allowed to do that. It's like, ugh. Like, that's pretty stupid. It's like the no socks and shoes thing. It's like, that's just dumb. And Aunt Martha, she is just the worst. Because the whole episode, they have to be nice to her, and they have to just let her, like, she basically, like, tries to change, like, their whole lifestyle to fit, like, her agendas. So she goes and gets Beaver shorts and makes him wear this, like, old-fashioned uniform, and it's just, ugh. Ugh. Next up is Brotherly Love. I give it a C+. This is a meh episode, and it's all built around a stupid idea. Forcing the boys to always hang out with each other, even if the other has something they wanted to do, that's stupid. But I liked how the ending worked out, with Gus the fireman being a better parent to Beaver and Wally than June and Ward. Brother pact, dumb. So what happens is, Gus the fireman, he wanted to take Beaver fishing, and his boat only fits 2 people. So he said, well, how about Wally and Beaver just go fishing together so that they can just spend time together? Like, you know what? That was better parenting than anything that June and Ward did the entire first season of Leave It to Beaver. My Brother's Girl is the next episode. I give it a C+. I did watch this one a second time. I don't like Mary Ellen Rogers, though. It's one thing to pursue your crush, but not this way. The way she grooms Wally through Beaver is creepy AF. If they made this episode about the opposite genders, people would have a fit. It's worth noting that Mary Ellen marries Wally later on. So this creepy grooming tactic paid off long term. Eek, eek. Beaver was the highlight. So what happened in this one was, it was all about how, like, girls had to make boys interested in them because boys just weren't interested, apparently. And Mary Ellen Rogers, she makes friends with Beaver so that she can get to Wally. And I just, it was really creepy. I mean, it was creepy, it was rude, it was gross, like, ew. And then at the end, it's really funny because Ward, he was the highlight in this episode too, because he's like, Beaver, you learned a very important lesson about women this episode. And then they have this really funny joke where they turn over and June is standing in the background, and then she says that she applauds Mary Ellen for doing that to Beaver, and I was like, ugh, gross. Like, see, I really didn't like that at all. Like, it was so bad, it was so cringeworthy. Like, guys, a girl can get to a guy without pretending to be friends with their younger sibling, and then just throwing them at the side of the road and just being like, F you. That's what she does to Beaver in this episode, and it's like, ew. Like, why would Wally want to be with somebody with low moral standards like you? I mean, she is a good actress, and, she seems nice as a person, but the thing that she does in this episode is really, really creepy. Next up is the paper route. I give it a C+. Pretty predictable and mild episode. Not really many laughs. The way Ward acts is not very good. The ending is kind of dumb. Next up is Boarding School. This episode is a B. The plot is predictable, but it tackles a real issue certain kids face. The highlight of the episode is Eddie, who actually helps Wally make the right decision by pretending that, like, oh no, they're actually forcing you to go to boarding school. You don't want to go there, they're forcing you. And I thought that was really, really high quality writing with Eddie. And then it's funny how all of what Eddie said played out in a way for him afterwards. But it's kind of depressing because a lot of real world parents are like how Eddie described, and they really do like forcefully send their children off to boarding school. Like, that was kind of depressing at the end because Wally, it started to become kind of serious, and it was kind of uncomfortable to watch. Next episode is Beaver's Old Friend. I give it a B. This is a similar story to Beaver's Tree, but not as effective. It's a pretty good story, though, and has a few good jokes. The funniest part was when Wally made fun of a friend's mom because she served tea sandwiches for lunch. And if you guys have ever had a tea sandwich, you don't serve that for lunch. My favorite part was when Wally found out why Beaver wanted to keep the bear and helped him cover it up. That was a great Big Brother moment for Wally. Next up is the train trip. And now you guys, this one's gonna... This episode infuriated a lot of people, including me. Marco from Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies. The only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. Ding, 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 ding. The train trip is a B. This one is frustrating but funny and entertaining. I would watch it again. The boys shine in this episode. Aunt Martha is trash once again. The train is delayed, so the boys get hungry. It's lunchtime. They use too much money to buy hot dogs, sandwiches, and candy bars. They're kids. Like Aunt Martha, she abandons them in a train station. and they're hungry and they want to eat lunch. And then they buy a ticket to the first stop and continue riding anyways. The conductor was pretty nice in comparison to other adult authority figures in the series. But what pissed me off was how nobody would help these two kids on the train. They just laughed at them. It's the typical thing that happens in the show where the boys get in trouble and the adults just laugh at them like sociopaths. The worst part is how Eddie's father was on that train and didn't help. He just made fun of it later like it's like a goofy, funny thing. Story. What a piece of shit. The boys once again have much more common sense and decency, immediately giving away their allowance to pay for the ticket. Why did their parents even have to know? I'm just glad they didn't yell at them or punish them. They once again didn't do anything wrong, at least on purpose. In my opinion, the adults in this episode were the ones in the wrong. So, I mean, the whole episode, you can see the adults making the bad decisions. I mean, even when it came down to, like, side story shit where June was making cookies, and she said, like, Beaver doesn't like raisins, so I'm gonna not put raisins in his batch of cookies. Wally doesn't like nuts, so I'm not putting nuts in his cookies. But then what she did was she combined the batches together and she just said F it. And it's like, The adults really didn't act good in this episode, honestly. Next up is Captain Jack. This is the famous alligator pet episode. I give it a B because it's just nothing special. Beaver runs away is the next episode. I give it a B. This was another solid episode, and I love the back and forth between Beaver and Ward. However, it is ultimately a letdown. Beaver doesn't run away at all. He just goes to have dinner with Larry. And June's hysteria this episode is really over the top acting-wise. I agree with her points, though, and was glad she brought him home. Next up is the clubhouse. I give it a B. This is a frustrating episode. Beaver tries raising money in a really funny way. The older kids are building a clubhouse and don't want him around. The Beaver part is the only good part of this episode. When Wally asks Beaver why he gave money to the con man, it was so funny that Beaver said, "He told such a great story." Unexpected twist ending. So Beaver, the whole episode, he just finds all these different ways to earn money, and then he gives it all to a con man. And he just did it because he liked how he told the story. That was a great ending. The Perfect Father is the next episode. I give it a B-. This is an okay episode. It's great seeing Hugh Beaumont is apparently a master basketball player. It ends up good. This basketball scenes are fun. The basketball scenes are fun. The only problem I have is June. She finds out Eddie Haskell is allergic to mayonnaise, and she gives it to him anyways. This is never followed through after she does this. So I guess they were just implying that Eddie is not allergic to mayonnaise, and he just said that to be a jerk. But she wanted him to have an allergic reaction. She gave him a mayonnaise sandwich. Like, that was really, really bad. Like, wow, that was really bad. You could die from an allergic reaction. I mean, that's June. Oh, God, June. Next one is Beaver's haircut. I give it a B. This episode all centers around a joke, which is still funny. Beaver's terrible haircut. Everything else is just noise. It is a good story, though, how the dad has scared his kids so much they aren't honest with him. The funny thing is, he never learns. In the rest of the series, Beaver and Wally still lie their asses off. Which just shows that, like, there's 3 variables here. You have 2 kids, and you have a father. And you can clearly tell, like, okay, the parents didn't learn their lesson. Because the kids, I mean, they're not just liars. They're not just evil liars. Like, they're not lying because they're scared of their own parents. So it's pretty bad. I mean, this episode probably, I don't know. Next up is Voodoo Curse. I give it a B. This episode does not age well. Beaver is banned in this episode from seeing horror movies, a very queer, old-fashioned thing for parents to do. But in other episodes, he goes and sees any horror movies he wants. So that's why it's also stupid, because this whole thing is, there's no consequences from this that go into other episodes. Still, the episode's funny. I love how Eddie takes advantage of anything. And I love how Beaver is concerned over a lie. This episode actually inspired me to put my own voodoo curse on someone from the first grade. It might have worked because he left me alone after I did that, and we became sort of friends. The worst part is how they get in big trouble for going to the horror movie. And it was another instance where they treated it like a really, really bad thing they did, going to see a horror movie. Next up is the bank account. I give it a B+. This is a very predictable episode. The Andy Griffith Show later ripped this episode off, and it was much better. It was Opie's Charity. More emotional. Still, I think this is a great episode because it's all about a build-up to a payoff. The amazing payoff makes the episode worthwhile. Kids save up money to buy Ward a new hunting jacket. Yeah, and the whole episode's like Ward is forcing them to like save their money. And he's trying to teach them that they can do this and it leads to better things. And they're like, well, wait a second. Our dad needs a hunting jacket and we have the money to buy it, so we should buy it for him. And so that's what they do. Next up is Part-Time Genius. I give this one an A+. This was a solid and heavily comedic episode. It's also one where the majority of it isn't spent wondering how we'll punish Beaver, which I really appreciate. It's all about where Beaver gets his test results switched with this other kid's, and it's the plot from the Flintstones movie where the smart kid, he doesn't like how smart he is, and so he purposefully switches his answers with the dumbest person in class. So the Flintstones movie literally ripped off Leave It to Beaver episode. And it's a great message, and it's a little dark because it's another one we're talking about terrible parenting. Next up is Beaver Gets Spelled. I give it an A+, or an A, actually. This is the first episode of the series, and it's a classic. It has a lot of good jokes. I mean, that's really all you have to say. Next up is Lumpy Rutherford. I give it an A. This is a classic episode. The kids have a bully, and the iconic character of Lumpy is introduced. They try to get him back because their dad told them a story he shouldn't have told them. It all goes horribly wrong. Fantastic and funny. Next up is Party Invitation. I give this an A. This is the first episode I ever watched of the series. I rented it from the library for fun and loved it enough to rent more episode discs from the library and Netflix. The premise is simple, and the episode delivers on many laughs. The best part is how it's an episode where Ward admits he's wrong, something he refuses to do in other episodes, even though he clearly is. Linda is an amazing character as well as her badass father. The big plot hole is why the surprise gift raffle is a girl's doll. The mom knew that one boy was coming to the party and should have prepared an alternative emergency gift for if Beaver won. My favorite joke in the episode is when Wally is eating a banana and at the same time he puts it in his pocket and he's like, "It's time to eat," to Beaver. And it's like, he's already like eating this fucking banana and he's like, "Hey, look, it's dinner. It's dinner time." And this is something that happens sometimes. Like you eat a snack and then all of a sudden it's dinner time, and you're like, oh, where did the time go? Next up is Beaver's Guest. I give it an A-. This is a classic episode. Everyone can imagine how much of a pain in the ass it would be to have Larry Mondello over. It's very funny, and the ending teases an even better episode we never got. It would have been a perfect finale to have Eddie sleeping over, and it all goes terribly wrong. And I mean, this episode is so funny because the jokes they make, you know, I don't know if they even do it today. Like, they wake up in the middle of the night, and they're like, what's wrong? And Larry is like, I feel sick. Ugh. And they're like, what's going on? Maybe we should call the doctor. And then they turn over the pillow, and they see like 20 candy bars. And he ate like 10 candy bars. And they're just like, you are not sick, Larry. You just overate. And then they take away his candy bars. That was really hilarious. Like, Larry, he was like, this was really, really good. Definitely a top tier Leave It to Beaver episode. Next up is Music Lesson. I give this one an A+. There's a great message in this episode about making your kids know you're proud of them even if they're not doing something like playing a sport or music. It's also one of the funniest episodes of the season, and I've watched it quite a few times. And it is so funny. Beaver plays the song and he can't play it worth shit. The sad thing is that most of the episode, like, the joke is that he only took lessons for like 4 days. And so, like, oh, it's funny that he doesn't know how to play after 4 days of playing an instrument. Like, wow, that's really funny. They never really confront that issue. Next up is Wally's Girl Trouble. I give this one a fucking A. This is a classic episode. Definitely one of the top 10 iconic episodes. The girl is a great actress. Hilarious. Beaver getting revenge and not getting punished was great. Overall, I love the episode and how it doesn't focus on the boys doing something bad and getting in trouble. Episodes like that always get like a higher grade for me. Now the next one is Water Trouble. As I just took a drink of water. In this one, Beaver takes advantage of the water being shut off, and he sells like water from a hose to all these kids who are doing yard work because they all want to earn money to get like sports uniforms, and the parents are making them earn that money. It's just weird though because they don't really provide any opportunities for Beaver to do that, and so they're kind of like saying F off to Beaver, and Beaver was like, no, you F off, and he went around selling water. The best part, this has to be probably one of the greatest lines in television history. Beaver is having an argument with Ward, and I gotta say, like, I have never liked Beaver as much as I do rewatching the series. You know, he is such a great actor for his age. He has so many moments where he shows integrity and he shows initiative and honesty and things, and he's just really, really cool in comparison to like Ward and June. I think like Eddie, Beaver, I think that those are like my top two characters. I don't know. We'll have to see. But they're having an argument, and Beaver says, well, if you want me to give the water for free, well, why doesn't the shop owner at the store give us all the food and drinks for free? And and that was one of the greatest lines of all time. I mean, that was a mic drop moment. Like, Beaver, Ward could not say anything to that. He was just, his jaw was on the floor because he was like, oh shit, like, Beaver actually made like a valid point that like nobody can even argue with. Like, why doesn't, like, because Beaver's like, we all go to the store and we buy food and drinks at the store, and they don't consider that like taking advantage of people. And Ward is like, that's different. And Beaver's like, well, why doesn't the store owner just give everyone everything for free? And it's like that was just so incredible. I love all the stories, plot twists and turns, and the ending especially. This is a perfect episode. Next up is New Neighbors. I give it an A+. This is a great episode. I watched it twice. The laughs fill the episode. The double entendres in this episode are off the chain. Wally's owl noise is hilarious. The moment where Ward has to tell Mr. Donaldson that Beaver is scared of him is so awkward, it's like a moment from The Office. But the best part is the ending where Beaver gives another mic drop. And Beaver says, Mr. Donaldson says I can kiss his wife anytime I want to. And that was epic. That was one of the best TV episode endings of all time. Hilarious. And Ward and June, they never even find out like what that actually meant. Like, so that's what makes it even funnier. This episode is just hilarious. Next up is The Perfume Salesman. I give it an A+. This is a classic, fun, funny episode. It's the first one I jumped to watch when I watched season 1. Perfect all the way through. And if you want to know what it's about, the kids want to sell this perfume so that they can get sent a movie projector with a movie in it. But the perfume smells like old leather, so nobody wants to buy it. And then Ward even tries to help them. It doesn't work. And so eventually he bribes all of the wives who are in June's women's club association or whatever, and the boys go and sell to all of them. But the twist is that Ward rigs the system a second time, because the projector that they got sent, it was a huge ripoff. And so Ward buys them like a good projector with like, full-length movies. And I thought, this was a solid episode. Let's just say. The number one best episode of Leave It to Beaver Season 1 is The Black Eye. I give this one an A+. This is a certified classic. Still lots of laughs to be had. The only issue, and I mean only issue, is how Fred Rutherford is not as lighthearted as in other episodes. If he was like this in the whole series, nobody would have liked him. He's more like Ward in the Leave It to Beaver movie, oddly enough. Other than that, wow, is this episode a comedic classic. With not one really stomachache-inducing Beaver gets in trouble moment. It's too bad this didn't continue and instead got rebooted basically in season 3. And what I mean by that is that in season 3, Beaver, he hates, or he's not a fan of Violet again. And that whole episode is him liking her again, too. So it's too bad that they didn't keep it in canon and just continue their story naturally. So, now I am going to rate season 1 in terms of food. I would say that season 1 was pretty good. It felt like a third of it was fantastic, a third of it was pretty good, and a third of it was poor. And it just doesn't feel as solid and consistent as season 3. I feel like the characters still needed some fine-tuning. Some of the episodes ended kind of sloppily. Some of the decisions that the parents made were pretty bad, especially when Ward turns the brothers against each other, which is like really, really bad. You never do that with siblings. What he does is he makes Wally like really proud that he's clean, and that makes Beaver really upset, and he favorites him, and it's just a really negative and stupid thing to do. In terms of a food review, I would say that this season, it deserves something simplistic but good, or I guess good and bad at the same time. There's certain types of sandwiches that people can eat. I would give season 1 of Leave It to Beaver a peanut butter and jelly, but not just any. I would give it a variety of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So the thing is about peanut butter and jelly is that it's not guaranteed to be good. If you're really, really low on jelly, it's going to be terrible. If you're really, really low on peanut butter, it's going to be terrible. If the peanut butter has crunchy parts in it that aren't purposeful and are just like, ugh, I don't even want to talk about peanut butter. And it's going to be terrible. And if the jelly was left out on the counter and it's warm and it's not even jelly, it's going to be terrible. So, peanut butter and jelly is actually really, really hard to get right. And I feel like this season you have a couple of different kinds of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to eat. And I think there was this one time, too, where for some reason we got apple jelly, and I tried that, and that was really gross. So, you can have all sorts of different types of this one type of sandwich, and it will turn out much differently. And I want to use an anecdote to talk about, like, what I would say the experience was watching this season. So there was this one time where I was visiting my brother's apartment back when he was in college, and he had a loaf of this, I think it was very light bread. It wasn't white bread, but it was pretty white. And the bread, I think there was only like one slice that had been eaten. And then there was, creamy Jif peanut butter. And I think that there was regular jelly, strawberry jelly, which I guess that's what people call regular. I like all the different types of jellies except for probably apple. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. That would be a good video. Ranking jellies. How would you rank the different types of jellies? It's pretty tough. So there was this one day that was spending there a vacation. I think it might have been like a weekend vacation, or maybe a full week. And since he was off at work all day, and I was like, I was on summer vacation or spring break vacation, I didn't have anything to do. So first off, and I remember it vividly because it was such an uncomfortable and just stomachache inducing experience, and it was exactly like something out of Leave It to Beaver. So first off, I played L.A. Noire for like 5 hours, and then I was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I ate like 3 of them, so that's 6 pieces of bread. And then I was like, well, you know what? There's I'm not going to be able to have anything for lunch, so I might as well have more peanut butter and jelly. So I made more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I had chips, and I had Pop-Tarts, and I had soda. And I watched Natural Born Killers twice. And I was just like so bored because there wasn't anything else to do but watch movies or play video games in this apartment. And I looked around and I looked in all the cabinets and everything. And I just kept on eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Because not really because I was hungry, but because I was just so bored that I was just like, okay, I'll make another sandwich and eat the sandwich, and it was terrible. And then by the end, I looked at the bread and I saw that like I ate like almost the whole entire loaf of bread. So there was only like 4 pieces of bread left in the loaf. And I think there might have been like 24 pieces or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But that was pretty bad. And so then I had like kind of, not really a stomach ache, but just like a full stomach feeling. And I spent the rest of the day just being worried about if I would get in trouble for eating all the bread and the bread loaf. So, and I didn't, by the way, but that it was just like a total Leave It to Beaver experience. And that's what I felt like this season was kind of like. It was kind of like eating a shit ton of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And, they all turn out differently, and they all turn out, they all turn out like in accordance to how good or bad they are as episodes. That's what I mean. So anyways, that's about it. Tomorrow, we will most likely be reviewing Children of the Corn 2, because we are doing the whole series since the Feminazi remake came out, and we want to review that one. And we figure that, there's not going to be any other time where a Children of the Corn movie comes out in the near future, so we might as well. They refuse for some reason to make a good Children of the Corn movie. Like, it's like, how hard is it to make Children of the Corn? To Hollywood, it's like, it's really hard. So anyways, please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought were the best episodes of Season 1. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews of Leave It to Beaver. And goodbye, everybody. See you soon.